Hello. Welcome to A Glimpse of Growth with Dr. Dale. Thank you for being here. We are here every Wednesday. Yeah, we're here every Wednesday. We are here Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So, welcome. Thank you for being here. Today's conversation is reality testing. Yes, we are testing our leadership reality. What does that mean? What does that mean? That means that this conversation, the question is simple. Are you responding from facts or feelings? Because there's a difference. So, my question to you is, when was the last time you tested your leadership reality? When? Before we get too deep in, let me make sure that I've gone live here on Instagram, you guys. Yes, I have. Before I get too deep in, I would like to ask for a favor. I am in the process of growing my YouTube channel and my podcast, A Glimpse of Growth. I would love for you to stop and subscribe. If you're not subscribed, subscribe. Welcome. Welcome to A Glimpse of Growth and subscribe. I think this podcast has been on now for 2 years and a half about, and we talk about leadership, we talk about emotional intelligence, we talk about human resources, we talk about the employee, the employer experience, because I've seen it all. I've seen quite a bit. And from my experiences, everything that I've shared, you guys comment below, you send me emails, and you thank me for all of the things. And some of you are not subscribed. So go ahead and subscribe. Go ahead and subscribe. So, with that, let's get into our conversation for today. So, the question was, when was the last time you tested your leadership reality? Right? So, going a little bit deeper, today we're talking about something that this conversation shapes how we show up in leadership, how we show up in relationships, parenting, conflicts, assumptions, communication, and honestly, our stress levels, right? So, reality testing in simple terms is, am I responding from what actually happened or for what I think happened? There is a difference. Many of us don't react to facts, we are reacting to assumptions, to past experiences, to insecurities, to fear, to our tone, to our body language. You are reacting to stories that we carry up here. And sometimes, I will say a lot of times, the story becomes more real than the reality itself. I've been there. I know what I if you feel the way I feel, if you've experienced that, I know what you're talking about. I know what it is. So here's an example, right? An analogy. Let's say this piece of paper. This piece of paper has some words written on it. And it's imagine this being a situation, whatever the situation is, the situation that you had with your argument you had with your husband, whatever it is you want to call it. This is stress, assumption, your experiences. Imagine this paper is a situation. And then we get this paper, and this is what we're doing. This is what we're doing. This is what happens when emotions, assumptions, stress, past experiences, negative ones especially, this is what happens to it. Now I'm going to open up that same paper, which is the situation, and The situation may still be the same, but how you're seeing it is distorted. How you're seeing it is distorted. I have some words on this paper. I mean, I can read them, but I got to really stretch out the paper to really read what I have on here. The situation may be the same, but how you see it is going to be a little off. And that's reality testing. It's about learning how to separate what happened from what we added to it emotionally. Hello, welcome in. Hi. This matters. And here's why it's important, right? It matters because you, as a leader, if you're a leader of people, if you're a leader of your home, we make decisions fast, especially you're in a big corporation and you manage a lot of people. You make decisions. You need to make decisions fast. And if leaders don't test their reality, they begin to lead from it. They begin to lead from ego. You begin to lead from perception. You lead from defensiveness. You begin to lead from emotional reaction instead of clarity. Yeah, I know. I once watched a leader completely shut down an employee in a meeting because the employee kept looking at their phone. I know. The employee kept and the employee kept looking at their phone, and that pissed the leader off so much that she could not control it and she reacted. You know anybody like that? Has that ever happened to you? The leader assumed that that employee was disengaged. The leader assumed that that employee was disrespectful. Well, of course, Dr. Dale, that's disrespectful. Looking at your phone and your watch all the time, and somebody is talking to you in a meeting. Why are you even looking at your phone? That is rude. How you respond to that situation is how it decides what lens you're looking at that situation from. That leader assumed disrespect. That leader assumed the person didn't care, that they were not present. But later on, you know what it was? You want to know what it was? The employee explained that their spouse was in the hospital and that they were waiting for the doctor to come in so that they can both talk to them together to find out what if she had cancer or not. Same behavior, completely different reality. That is why your leadership reality testing is vital. When we assume intent without checking the context, we damage trust, right? Think about the last time somebody assumed that you did something that you didn't do. How did that feel? Not good. Your interpretation of the situation is not always the truth. I'll say that again. Your interpretation of what happened, Calvin Thomas, thank you for being here. Your interpretation of what happens is not always the truth. Your feelings are valid, but your interpretation of that situation may not always be what actually happened. What they used to say, there's three sides to the truth: your version, their version, and then the actual truth. Here's another point of view. These glasses represent our experiences, okay? Our trauma, our disappointment, our insecurity, our guilt, our fear, our burnout. That's what these glasses are. They're all of these things. But guess what? Every experience colors how we interpret people. Reality testing is removing the emotional filter long enough to ask, what else could be true here? What else could I be missing? That's why they say pause before reacting, before just jumping to conclusion. That's why you hear experts talk about pausing all the time. Bunny Tupal, welcome. Thank you for being here. Fritz, welcome. Dexter Howard, welcome in. That's why they say pausing is important, because when you test your leadership reality and what lens you're looking at it with, you are removing the emotional filter long enough, pausing long enough for you to be able to decide, wait, is that what he meant when he said that? Am I jumping to conclusions? Maybe I should just wait and see. How many times have you jumped to conclusion about something and someone that you thought it was when it wasn't what you thought it was, and then when you realize that it was not what you thought at all? If you had just kept quiet for 5 more minutes, you would have realized that you were wrong. I've done it. I can't tell you how many times I've lost count. I've lost count. But there's remedy, right? There's a fix for that. And here is, from what I have observed from my experience and what I've studied, here's the reason why I believe folks struggle with reality testing. Because our brains are designed to protect us and to predict outcomes and avoid pain, the brain fills in those gaps. And you know what? Think about it. I'm going to give you an example right now. If you ask yourself a question inside in your head, ask yourself a question. The brain is going to work itself to find a way to answer that question one way or the other. For example, I'm going to ask myself, I do this all the time, by the way. And you could ask yourself, man, I can't believe I have 9 sisters. I have 9 sisters? Do I have 9 sisters? My brain quickly tells me, no, no, Dr. Dale, you have 4 sisters. Man, it is so good that I have that pink Maserati outside. My brain is telling me, no, you don't. No, you don't. The brain fills in the gap, and the brain fills it in so quick. Sometimes it fills it in incorrectly. If I really pause and say, hey, brain, you're right. I don't have 9 sisters, but I do have 5 additional not blood sisters. So you are wrong. I do have 9 sisters that I call sisters. That's why emotional intelligence matters. Emotional intelligence says, and it screams for us to slow down long enough to ask ourselves, do I know this? Or am I assuming that I know this? So, some other questions you can ask yourself as a leader: what facts do I actually have to prove or disprove this? What story am I telling myself? Let me give you another example. At this job, there was this receptionist at the front desk. And at the front desk, I would go, all the managers would go to the front desk all the time, and they would get their mail, they would get their copies or whatever it is that came for them at the front desk. And all the time I would go at the front desk and I would get my mail and all my stuff from the front desk and from the receptionist. And every time, like clockwork, at a particular time, I would go up there and the receptionist would say, "I can't stand that manager." And I would say, "Well, being in HR, well, what manager are you talking about?" And she would say, "Such and such manager." And I was like, "Well, why? Did something happen?" She's like, "No. Every time he passes by here, he just looks at me like he's like something is wrong. I know he doesn't like me. Dot 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 dot." She would go on and on and on and on. And I would often calm her down and say, "Well, he didn't say anything. Why are you assuming that he does it? Like he doesn't like you or something is wrong or whatever." She said, "Because he always looking at me and the way he looks at me like he's frustrated and mad." I asked her, we've been talking about this now for like months. And like, I don't know, 7, 8 months later, she finally got the nerve to ask that manager as he's passing by. And she asked him, "Hey, why every single time?" And I kind of coached her as best I could on how to approach him with this situation. And when she did, it was it gave her an opportunity to, I had used to have a director of HR that says fact find, to probe a little bit. And she asked them, "Why every single time you pass by here, you always look at me like you're frustrated, like you're mad? I didn't even know you. Why you even, we haven't really talked. Why don't you like me?" The manager looked at her like deer with the headlights. And he's like, "I don't know what you're talking about." And she said, "Well, why are you always, every time you pass by you, why are you looking at me like that?" And he said, and he just stopped her and he said, "You know my manager's office is over there, right?" And she's like, "Yes." So he's like, "My manager, I meet with him on a weekly basis. And every single time because I go through the back to go into his office and I come through the other side to come out of his office. And every time I go to him and I meet with him, he always give me stuff that needs to be done last minute. He's not very proactive. He screams and he's very disrespectful. He talks down to me." And he was just going on and on and on and on. And she felt like that. And she felt so sorry for him because she assumed that he walked out of that office and had a beef with her when it wasn't even about her. Isn't that crazy? It's fascinating. The stories we build in our heads, in our minds, about all of things that are going on around us, and we think it's about us when it's not. So before you jump to conclusions, ask, did you verify this? Am I responding from emotion or from evidence? What when I used to when I asked her, when the first time she told me, I said, "What evidence do you have to prove or disprove what you're saying?" And enough evidence was for her the fact that he just looked at her mad when he really was coming from dealing with so much from his manager, that the facial expression that he was giving was, he was all in here and just feel completely stressed, you know? So reality testing in the workplace could look like it happens every day. First of all, my manager hates me. Ugh, I can't tell you how many times I heard that. They ignore my message on purpose every single time, Dr. Dale. My employee is lazy. They don't care about this job. They want me to invest in them, but they haven't even been here 2 months. That coworker has it in for me and she wants my job. I just know it. Does she? That may be true, but make sure that you have the facts to back it up. None of that sometimes is true. And without reality testing, without testing your reality on what actually is happening, the communication will break down, the conflict will escalate, and the trust is going to be eroded. So here's an action item for you. Before jumping to conclusion or predicting what you think someone said or what they don't about you and all the things, ask, say this. Sometimes we kind of label the behavior to the person and not the person to the behavior. Instead of saying, this person is disrespectful. This person is disrespectful, Dr. Dale. Maybe try and say, the behavior you are exemplifying seems disrespectful. Help me understand what's going on here. Is there something I'm missing? One is a fact that you have claimed, and the other is an emotional observation. Huge difference. Huge difference. So here's a question for you. When was the last time you found out your assumption about a situation was completely wrong? When was the last time? Reality testing is like checking the weather before leaving the house. Just because it looks gloomy and dark outside your window, especially if you're here in South Florida, it doesn't mean that it's actually going to rain. Some of us are predicting and preparing for emotional storms that don't exist. That don't exist. They don't exist. Strong leaders don't just react quickly, they respond accurately. And that accuracy requires awareness, it requires pause, it requires curiosity, it requires humility. Because not every thought is a fact. Not every feeling tells the full story. And emotionally intelligent leaders understand this. Clarity is kindness. We say on here all the time to Brene Brown's point. To be unclear is to be unkind. And being clear is not just the words that are coming out of your mouth. They are not jumping to conclusions without facts. That's what they are. That's what they are. It's if for this conversation's point, you are testing the lens that you are looking that situation at. And if that lens is adding to, I don't know, your emotional stress, if it's adding to your trauma, to your guilt, to your negative experiences, to you not trusting people and you're thinking everybody is out to get you without facts, I'm going to say maybe you need to check your reality testing. That's it. So before you react this week, ask yourself, am I responding to reality or reacting to my interpretation of that reality? And now we know there's a difference. Emotional intelligence is not believing everything you feel in the moment. No, that's not what it is. Because everything you feel in a moment, remember, feelings are not facts. They're just messages there to let us know how we're doing, our temperature on the inside, and for us to course correct long enough with a pause for, whatever it is that you need to do, walk away, come back to the conversation when you have calmed down, and then respond more logically with intelligence. That's what emotional intelligence is. And that's what this conversation was about. And that, my friend, is the end of our episode today. So, thank you for being here. Thank you for liking, for sharing, for subscribing, for commenting, for supporting. Thank you so very much. It means more to me than you know. And it kind of encourages me to kind of continue to show up here for you guys because this is what I love to do. And next week, what are we talking about? We're talking about motherhood and leadership. Because next week is Mother's Day. Yay! So, thank you so much once again and for having this conversation with me and for going on this whirlwind of testing our reality, testing our leadership reality. It's important that you know what lens you are responding to based on the situation that you are in. Because if you don't check yourself, what they say, you wreck yourself. We're not wrecking ourselves over here, right? We are leaders, we are professionals, and we want to level up. We want to continue to elevate ourselves from an emotional intelligence standpoint, from self-awareness, from knowing our blind spots, so that way we can capitalize from them on them, and then we don't have to subject people to negative experiences of us. Very important. Very important. So with that, I'll see you guys next week for another glimpse of growth with Dr. Dale every Wednesday at 12:15 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Short time, but always a good time. I'll see you guys next time. Thank you for being here and supporting this channel. If you enjoy this episode and this content, it would mean a lot to me if you would take a few seconds to ensure you are subscribed to A Glimpse of Growth with Dr. Dale. Click the notification bell to receive notification. Share it with someone you think may need it. And let's continue to become more intelligent with our emotions. Thank you.